What if I told you your Ohio power bill could jump again in 2026, even if you change nothing? A recent grid auction for our region cleared at the maximum price, and experts warn that could push bills up 1.5% to 5% next summer. After years of increases, Ohio researchers say residential electricity prices are already up about 30% since 2022. Now here's the scary part. When a utility bill becomes the one you can't pay, it doesn't just sit there. It grows. Late fees, warnings, possible deposits, and a shutoff countdown that can turn your home into a cold box in winter or an oven in July. And once you're behind, catching up can feel like running uphill in the dark. Stay with me, because we're breaking down 10 real reasons Ohioans fall behind, and the exact steps that happen next, plus quick moves that can protect your lights, heat, and credit. Number 1, bills jump faster than paychecks. Here's the brutal math. Your utility bill can rise overnight, but your paycheck usually doesn't. A new rate period kicks in, a supply cost shifts, a hot week forces the AC to run nonstop, and suddenly your normal bill looks like it belongs to someone else. Most families aren't wasting energy on purpose, they're just living the same life with more expensive basics. And when wages stay flat while essentials climb, rent, groceries, gas, utilities become the bill that gets pushed to later, because you can't argue with a landlord or a hungry fridge. That's how a small gap starts. You're not being irresponsible, you're being outpaced. The real danger is the snowball effect. When a bill is higher than expected, people often pay what they can and promise themselves they'll fix it next month. But next month arrives with another bill, plus the remaining balance, plus fees. That turns one bad month into 2, then 3. And it's not just electricity, water, gas, trash, even internet for work and school can stack up like a tower of bricks. The stress gets loud, you're checking the mailbox like it's a threat, dodging unknown numbers, hoping the next notice isn't the one that says final. So what can you do, today, before it spirals? First, treat the moment you notice a jump as a deadline, not a surprise. Call your utility before the due date and ask for a payment arrangement or budget billing. It's easier to negotiate when you're not already in trouble. Second, build a tiny bill shock buffer. Even $10 to $20 set aside weekly can soften a sudden spike. Third, reduce the fastest energy leaks, switch to LED bulbs, unplug always-on devices, wash clothes in cold water, and set the thermostat just 1 to 2 degrees smarter. Small changes, real dollars. And if the bill already feels impossible, don't wait for panic, ask about assistance programs and local community agencies early, while you still have options. Number 2, the energy burden hits low-income families the hardest. Even when 2 households use the same amount of electricity, the impact can be totally different, because what matters is percentage of income. Researchers call this energy burden, when your utility costs take a huge bite out of your monthly money. If you're earning less, a $60 increase isn't annoying, it can be the difference between rent, medicine, or food. And that's why utility spikes feel so unfair. The price goes up for everyone, but the pain lands hardest on the people with the smallest cushion. You're not bad with money, you're fighting a math problem that was built to crush tight budgets. This is also why falling behind happens so fast. When you're already stretching every dollar, you don't have a backup week to catch up. So you start making trade-offs, delay a prescription, skip groceries, push a car payment, or borrow from someone who's also struggling. That stress adds another layer, because constant money pressure changes how we think. Studies show financial stress can narrow focus and make long-term planning harder, which is not a character flaw, it's a human brain in survival mode. So the bill doesn't just drain your wallet, it drains your attention, your sleep, your patience, and that's when mistakes happen, like missing a due date or ignoring a notice because it's too overwhelming. Here are practical moves that actually help when energy burden is the problem. First, ask your utility about income-based plans or assistance options in your area, especially programs like PIPP, if you qualify, which can reduce what you owe by tying payments to income instead of the full bill. Second, don't wait until you're in crisis. Apply for HEAP and local energy assistance as early as possible, because processing and funding windows matter. Third, set up a two-bill rule. If you can't pay everything, try to cover current charges first and negotiate the past due balance separately. This can slow the snowball. And finally, use your community resources like a power tool. Community action agencies can help you apply, gather documents, and sometimes connect you to emergency funds, so you're not doing this alone. Number 3, older, leaky homes quietly eat your money. If you've ever felt a cold draft in winter or stood near a window in summer and thought, why is it hotter inside than outside? That's not your imagination. Many Ohio homes, especially older ones, were built in a time when energy was cheaper and insulation wasn't a priority. Over the years, tiny gaps form around windows, doors, attic hatches, and vents. Air slips out, and your furnace or AC has to run longer just to keep the house livable. The worst part? You can do everything right, turn off lights, take shorter showers, and still get slammed with a high bill because your home is basically a bucket with holes. This is where people get trapped. When the house can't hold heat, you crank the thermostat, then you blame yourself when the bill arrives. But the real issue is efficiency, not effort. And if you're renting, it can be even harder because you don't control upgrades like new windows or insulation. So you end up paying for a building's problems with your own paycheck. It's especially brutal during extreme weather, because the HVAC becomes nonstop. Your home turns into a machine that burns money just to stay barely comfortable, and that constant drain is exactly how families fall behind, slowly, quietly, month after month. Here's what you can do without a big renovation budget. Start with the cheapest, seal the leaks moves, add weather stripping to doors, use draft stoppers at the bottom, and apply clear window film in winter. It's like putting a thin jacket on your windows. Check the thermostat, even 1 to 2 degrees can cut usage over time. Use fans correctly, ceiling fans counterclockwise in summer, clockwise in winter. And if you rent, document problem areas and request fixes in writing: broken vents, failing furnace filters, loose windows. Also ask your utility or local programs about home energy audits and efficiency assistance. Some programs help cover insulation, sealing, or basic upgrades. These aren't tiny hacks. For leaky homes, they can be the difference between a bill you can manage and a bill that breaks you. Number 4. Extreme weather forces survival level usage. Ohio weather doesn't just change, it swings. One week you're fine, the next you're sweating through a heat wave or waking up to a house that feels like a freezer. And when temperatures hit those extremes, your utility bill stops being about comfort and becomes about safety. You can't budget your way out of a 95-degree day when there's a baby in the house, an elderly parent, or someone with asthma. You can't tough it out when pipes might freeze or when your bedroom drops into the 50s. So people do what they have to do. They run the AC longer, turn the heat up, use space heaters, take hotter showers, and suddenly the meter spins like it's racing. The tricky part is that extreme weather creates bill spikes, not just gradual increases. It's like one bad weekend can add a surprising chunk to the month. And those spikes often come when money is already tight: back-to-school season, holiday expenses, car repairs, medical copays. Add humidity, and your AC works harder. Add wind, and your house loses heat faster. If your home is older or poorly insulated, you pay even more because the system runs longer just to maintain the same temperature. That's how people get blindsided. We didn't do anything different, they say, but the weather did. Here's how to protect yourself when the forecast is the enemy. First, treat extreme days like a storm warning for your budget. Pre-cool or preheat your home slightly before the peak hours so your system doesn't have to fight as hard later. Second, focus on comfort zones, not the whole house. Close doors to unused rooms, use a fan to circulate air, and spend more time in one cooled/heated space to cut demand. Third, avoid the bill killers: space heaters running for hours, ovens used for heat, and constant thermostat changes. Instead, use blankets, layered clothing, and targeted heating like a safe, low setting in the room you're actually in. And most importantly, if you're already behind, call the utility before a heat wave or deep freeze hits. Extreme weather is when shutoff risk feels terrifying, but it's also when assistance and payment arrangements can matter most. Number 5. Grid and market costs quietly filter into your bill. Most people think their electric bill is just how much power I used. But a big chunk of it is really the cost of keeping enough power available in the future, even on the hottest, most demanding day of the year. In Ohio's region, that's influenced by a huge grid marketplace, where power companies get paid to promise they'll be ready when demand spikes. When those market prices rise, it can eventually show up in what customers pay, sometimes months later, like a delayed punch you didn't see coming. That's why people feel blindsided. Nothing changed inside the house, but the system behind the scenes got more expensive. So why does that system get pricier? A few reasons can stack at the same time. Older power plants retire, new ones take time to build, fuel costs swing, and demand keeps climbing, especially with more data centers, electrification, and heavier summer cooling. Think of it like trying to reserve enough seats on a bus line that keeps getting more passengers, while some buses are being taken out of service. The price of guaranteed seats goes up. And because the bill is a mix of supply, delivery, and other charges, you might not even notice which part increased, only that the total feels harsher than last year. Here's the practical move: learn your bill like a detective. Look for supply versus delivery charges and compare month to month. If you're in an area where you can choose a supplier, be careful. Some deals look cheap at first but turn into variable rate traps later. Set a reminder to review your rate every few months, especially before summer and winter. Also ask your utility about budget billing so a sudden market-driven jump doesn't slam you all at once. And if your bill is already getting heavy, don't wait for a shut-off notice, call early and say, "I need a payment plan." When the market moves, you can't control the auction, but you can control how fast it turns into a crisis in your home. Number 6, fees stack up and the balance grows on its own. This is the part nobody warns you about. Once you're late, the bill can start growing even if you barely use anything. A past due balance often triggers late fees, and sometimes extra charges that make the next bill feel bigger before you've even touched it. So you pay what you can, but it doesn't fix the problem, it just slows the bleeding. Then the following month arrives with a new bill plus the old balance, and suddenly you're staring at a number that feels impossible. That's how people go from "I'm short this month" to "I'm buried," without making any dramatic mistake. And it can get worse when disconnection gets involved. If service is shut off, you may face reconnect fees, and some households get hit with a deposit requirement to turn the lights back on. That's a cruel combo because the very moment you're broke is when the system asks you for more upfront money. Meanwhile, life doesn't pause, kids still need baths, phones need charging, food spoils, you miss work, stress goes through the roof. In real life, it's not just a utility bill anymore, it becomes a chain reaction that hits your health, your job, and your ability to think clearly. Here's how to stop the fee snowball before it becomes an avalanche. First, call the utility as soon as you realize you can't pay in full and ask for a payment arrangement. Early calls usually unlock more options than last-minute calls. Second, if you can't pay everything, try to cover the current charges first, then negotiate the past due amount separately. That can prevent the balance from exploding. Third, set up a small floor payment on autopay, something realistic, so you avoid repeated late hits. And finally, if you get a notice, don't freeze, treat it like a timer, not a judgment. The fastest way to win is to act early, keep a record of who you spoke to, and ask directly, "What's the minimum I need to pay today to avoid shutoff?" Number 7, medical costs collide with utility bills, and utilities usually lose. One ER visit, one new prescription, one dental emergency, and suddenly your whole month gets rewritten. Medical expenses don't ask permission. They land fast, they're emotional, and they often come with hidden follow-ups, co-pays, tests, refills, time off work, childcare. When that happens, families make the most human choice. They pay the bill that feels urgent right now, and they delay the one that feels, "Maybe I can handle later." Utilities often get pushed back because you can stretch them for a few weeks, until you can't. That's how health problems quietly turn into energy insecurity, even for people who were doing okay. And here's the twist, stress from unpaid bills can make health worse, which makes finances worse, which makes bills pile higher. It's a loop. When you're worried about a shutoff notice, you sleep less, you think slower, you snap more easily, and you're more likely to miss deadlines or ignore calls because it's overwhelming. Meanwhile, temperature control isn't a luxury for many people, it's a medical need. Extreme heat can be dangerous for heart conditions, breathing issues, and older adults. Extreme cold can trigger illness and make recovery harder. So falling behind on utilities isn't just a money issue, it can become a health risk. Here's what to do if medical bills are the reason you're drowning. First, call the hospital or clinic billing office and ask for financial assistance, charity care, or an income-based payment plan. Many places have programs, but they don't advertise them loudly. Second, ask your utility about hardship options and tell them plainly, "I have a medical situation affecting my finances." Third, prioritize stability, keep light/heat on and protect your home, while negotiating medical payments over time. And finally, stack support. Community action agencies, local nonprofits, and even some pharmacies can help reduce costs or connect you to assistance. The goal isn't perfection, it's keeping your life stable while you recover, without letting one medical surprise shut the whole house down. Number 8, people cut essentials to avoid shutoff and crash later. When the bill gets scary, most people don't ignore it, they go into sacrifice mode. They skip meals, delay groceries, stretch diapers, put off school supplies, cancel internet even if the kids need it for homework, and pray nothing else breaks. It feels responsible in the moment, "If I just push through this month, I'll catch up." But this is where the trap snaps shut. Because cutting essentials doesn't create extra money forever, it creates new problems. Hunger makes work harder. No internet hurts school and job searches. Skipping car maintenance leads to bigger repairs. So the household survives today, but loses stability tomorrow. This is also why people fall behind even when they're trying hard. The stress becomes constant background noise, and your brain starts focusing only on what's right in front of you. You stop opening mail. You avoid the utility app. You stop answering calls because every unknown number feels like bad news. That avoidance isn't laziness, it's a protective reflex when life feels too heavy. But utilities run on timelines, due dates, notices, deadlines. And when you're stuck in survival mode, you can miss the one window where a payment plan or assistance program could have kept everything from escalating. Here's the move that breaks the cycle: don't try to suffer your way out of a utility crisis. Use a simple 3-call rescue plan in one day. Call 1, your utility, and ask for the minimum payment to avoid shutoff plus a payment arrangement. Call 2, your local community action agency, and ask for emergency energy help and how to apply for programs like HEAP or income-based plans. Call 3, anyone connected to your housing, landlord, property manager, or maintenance, to address efficiency issues that spike your bill. Then do one more thing: protect your essentials while you negotiate. Keep food in the house, keep transportation running, keep communication on. A shutoff doesn't just hurt comfort, it makes it harder to work, harder to think, and harder to recover. The goal is stability, not heroics. Number 9, rental problems make tenants pay for a building's failures. If you rent, you can do everything right and still get punished by things you can't control. A drafty window that won't shut all the way. A furnace that's old and struggling. An AC unit that runs loud but barely cools. Gaps under doors, missing insulation, vents that don't blow evenly. These problems don't just make you uncomfortable, they quietly force your system to work harder, which means you pay more every single day. And because you don't own the place, you can't just replace windows or add insulation whenever you want. So the bill becomes a kind of hidden rent increase that nobody talks about. The worst part is how unfair it feels: you're paying for inefficiency. In some rentals, the heating setup is poorly designed, filters aren't changed, or repairs get delayed until a total breakdown happens. Meanwhile, you're trying to keep kids warm, keep rooms cool, keep pipes safe, so you run the system longer and accept the bill as normal. Until one month it spikes, and suddenly you're behind. And when you're behind, it's harder to push back, because you're exhausted, stressed, and worried about conflict with the landlord. That's how people end up trapped in a cycle where the home drains money and the tenant gets blamed. Here's how to protect yourself without starting a war. First, document everything. Take photos of drafts, broken seals, old units, and thermostat readings. Keep copies of bills showing spikes. Second, request repairs in writing, text or email, so there's a record. Be specific: the window in the bedroom has a gap, the furnace is short cycling, the AC isn't cooling below 78. Third, do what you can control: weather stripping, draft stoppers, window film, heavy curtains, small tools that make a real difference. And if the situation is extreme, contact local tenant help or your city's housing resources for guidance. You don't need to be an expert, you just need a paper trail and a plan. Because in rentals, the fastest way to lower bills is often fixing the home, and you deserve a home that isn't bleeding money. Number 10, confusing plans, scams, and too good supplier deals. When bills surge, people start hunting for answers fast, and that's exactly when confusion and scams thrive. Ohio has areas where you can choose an energy supplier, and that sounds great, until you realize some offers are built like a trap. A rate looks cheap for a month or two, then flips to a variable rate that jumps without warning. Or the fine print adds fees. Or someone knocks on your door or calls your phone pretending to be with the utility, pressuring you to switch right now. In a stressful moment, it's easy to say yes just to feel like you're doing something. Then the next bill arrives and it's worse than before. And this isn't just about scams, it's about how hard it is to understand utility pricing when you're busy, tired, and worried. Your bill is filled with terms that feel like another language. Supply, delivery, riders, adjustments. You might think switching suppliers changes everything, when it may only change one part. So people chase a quick fix, miss a detail, and end up locked into a plan that doesn't match their real life. That's how you go from "I'm trying to save money" to "why is my bill even higher?" And the stress doubles. Here's how to protect yourself in a simple, practical way. First, remember this rule: your utility will never demand your personal info on a surprise call and threaten shutoff today. If you don't switch, pressure is a red flag. Second, if you're considering a new supplier, ask one question before anything else: is this a fixed rate for the full contract term, and what happens when it ends? Third, take 5 minutes to compare your current price per kilowatt hour to any offer, don't compare monthly totals. And finally, if you feel unsure, pause. A real deal will still be there tomorrow. The goal isn't to become a utility expert, it's to avoid choices made in panic. Because in 2026, the safest savings move might not be switching at all, it might be avoiding the wrong switch. If your Ohio utility bill feels like it's climbing faster than your life can keep up, I want you to hear this clearly: you're not alone, and you're not bad with money. When prices rise, one unexpected heat wave hits, a medical bill shows up, or your home wastes energy like an open window, it can push any household into trouble. And once you're behind, the system can feel cold, fees, notices, and the fear of shutoff can turn a normal month into a pressure cooker. But the biggest mistake is waiting in silence, hoping it fixes itself. Utility problems don't shrink on their own, they grow with time. Here's the good news: you still have moves. The smartest step is acting early, before the due date, before the final notice, before the balance becomes a mountain. Call your utility and ask for a payment arrangement. Look into assistance programs like HEAP or income-based options if you qualify. Audit your bill like a detective, know what's supply, what's delivery, and what's changing. And focus on small fixes that pay back fast: ceiling drafts, smarter thermostat habits, LED lighting, because tiny daily savings add up into real monthly relief. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these 10 reasons hits closest to home: weather, rentals, fees, or paychecks? Drop a comment with the word "help" and tell me your situation in one sentence, and I'll reply with a simple next step checklist. If this video helped, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who's quietly stressing over a bill right now. And watch our next video on practical ways to cut your bill in the next 30 days.